if God had sent my husband when I really used to think I wanted one, I would have destroyed that marriage so fast. It's just like, why am I praying? Like, it's just not getting answered, you know? Or it just wouldn't have been as fruitful as, you know, it could be with a healed version of myself. So I would have missed my answer to my prayer had God not revealed this to me. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bria K. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new here, what it do? What's up? What's good? So as y'all can already see by the title, today I just wanted to tackle the topic of why it sometimes feels like God is not answering our prayers, when it feels like you've been praying about something for months, years, whatever the case may be, and you're just not getting an answer. I know that can be discouraging and make you not want to pray anymore, or, you know, just be like, what's the point? Because it's like you wouldn't keep texting somebody if you clearly saw they was leaving you on red, right? But I'm here today to reassure you that we have an answering God, okay? God is going to answer your prayers with yes, no, or not yet. And there's evidence of this all throughout scripture, which we will get into just a little bit. But before we do, y'all, I really just want to take a second to reveal where this revelation for me came from about God is always going to answer our prayers, but it may just look different than what we expect. Point blank. It really started at some point last year, y'all. I was riding around just on like a mad sunny day like today, just riding around in my car, completing errands, you know, sipping my good old Starbucks, just chilling. But this particular day, I was like extremely filled with joy and just like this peace, and just from my whole being was just at peace, and I was just so full of joy. Like, I got myself smiling. I was just like, you know, cheesing big, and I'm like, yo, like, I love this. This is lit, but why am I like this? And you know, God kind of dropped in my spirit, like, girl, this. He was like, baby, this is peace. This is healing. This is you restored. This is you, you know, outside of soul ties. This is you in your fullness, walking in who I made you to be. And I'm like, wow, I love being healed. Wow, I love this restoration. I love this joy, this peace, you know. And I haven't been in a relationship. This would be like my 5th year now. So it took a while to get to that point, y'all. Like, I digress. Anywho, so I felt all that healing and peace and joy and la-di-da-di, we like to party. And then, you know, shortly after, a shift took place in my heart. I was just like, dang, it's been 5 years since I have had a companion, since, you know, I've had that lovey-dovey, you know, that intimacy, that physical intimacy, the cuddling, all that stuff. And I just, out of nowhere, like, my heart got really grieved about it. It caught me off guard, but of course I went to God about it. I'm like, okay, God, I'm feeling these things within my heart, so let me present them to you, you know. And I just started talking to God. I'm like, am I ready? Like, if I'm not ready, get me ready. Like, you know, just all these things. And like clockwork, I thought I was getting an answer to my prayers, because for the past like 4 years, y'all, when I say no men were coming around whatsoever, like, it's just like I was just completely hidden. Like, I just didn't exist to the male species. But then like last year, like towards the end especially, it was like God just like shone a light on me, and it was like, wow, you know, like these men start coming out the woodworks. It was Christian men, it was, you know, worldly guys, it was exes. When I say like everybody came out the woodworks, I was completely overwhelmed. I was just like, dang, God, you know, you moved fast. Like, wow, you know, if it's my time, it's my time. So I had all these men to sift through, and it was so tight how God did this, y'all. Because like that same peace and joy and healing and restoration I was feeling, all that went away like as soon as I started entertaining these dudes. Like, my peace was just disturbed. I was super distracted. Like, I couldn't focus on, you know, the things I was doing for God or just personal goals in my life. Like, I was just off my game. I was off focus. So in retrospect, I feel like that was God giving me a little taste of what I thought I wanted, but was definitely not ready for. And in retrospect, again, his answer to my prayer about, oh, husband, it was heal, restore. You know, just all this stuff I needed that would not have been found if I had gotten a husband like years ago when I thought I wanted one, or even, you know, when I first started praying about it. If God had sent my husband when I really used to think I wanted one, I would have destroyed that marriage so fast. And not out of like anything like cheating or disloyalty, but out of all my traumas, all the unhealing I had to do. All the healing I had to do that I had not addressed. So God basically was showing me, like, if I had given you a husband when you thought you were good and ready to go, like, you would have destroyed that mug, or it just wouldn't have been as fruitful as, you know, it could be with a healed version of myself. So God's answer to my prayer about a husband, what at that moment and right now, was healing, restoration, focus on Christ, increase in faith, all these things. I say all that to say, had I not experienced that blissful joy, peace, healing, all that stuff, I would have thought God didn't answer my prayer. It's just real. I was just like, you know, I went through hell on earth with my relationships. I've dealt with more pain and heartbreak than most people my age. I think it's time I deserve a husband. And God's like, how does that remotely make sense? I know, like, we know together what I've been through in relationships. So why would answer to pain and heartache and trauma be a husband? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some things that had to take place first, which were healing, restoration, you know, all these things. So I would have missed my answer to my prayer had God not revealed this to me. So I'm here to help, you know, kind of just illustrate that, like, God answers our prayers, but sometimes we miss it because it doesn't look like what we want. It's not on our time. Like, it's not in the time frame we think we should receive it. Or it's just not in his will for us. So y'all know we live in a super instantaneous, microwave, gotta have it right now society. We have, you know, Amazon Prime, we have Uber Eats, we have Tinder. We can have everything physically that we want right now at the swipe of a finger, you know. And so we think just because technology has upgraded, just because all these system upgrades are up in this century with us, we think God's gonna get like an iOS 15 update or something, like he's gonna be an instantaneous God. No, God was the same yesterday, today, and forever. So God is not gonna work on this instant time that we're on right now, because he still operates out of purpose and intent. And so when we try to rush God, we think we know better than him, but it's really like, no, he knows what we need. He knows what we need, point blank. Let's stop there. But also he knows, like, if we were to get some things that we pray for instantly, we will destroy them because we're not ready, we didn't properly prepare, or we would walk away from relationship with him because it would seem like we're only praying to get something out of him, and then once we get it, we don't need him anymore. You know, a lot of people try to use God as a genie or like a magician, like only coming to him when they want something, and that's not how our relationship with God should be. We should be in relationship with God because we're in relationship with God. That's it. Like, we should be in relationship with God for God, not for things and, you know, tangible. We can see this illustrated through Abraham and Sarah. Their bodies were as good as dead. They were basically skin and bones by the time they had their child. And it was a test of faith. You know, it wasn't that God couldn't bless Sarah's womb way before they were about to die. It's just God, you know, God was being God. You know what I'm saying? Like, to this day, if you read Abraham and Sarah, you're just gonna be like, psh. Like, not only did he give them a child, he made Abraham the father of many nations. So he not only gave them the one thing that they wanted, but he gave them so much more than they ever could have imagined and asked for, just out of their faith and their patience, and their obedience, you know. We also sometimes think prayer is not getting answered because it does not look like what we want. Our human brains are very creative. Like, we can come up with stuff that we just think we deserve, and we just know we deserve it, right? But our human brains sometimes pray for something and can only see it being answered in that way, right? A good example of this is 2 Corinthians 12, starting at verse 7, you know, where Paul he's being afflicted with this thorn in his side. Like, he's trying to go about God's business, but he's being afflicted by a thorn that the enemy has sent upon him, and he's unable to, well, he's not unable, but he's just very uncomfortable. And he prays to God. You know, he's like, God, please remove this thorn from my side, like, help a brother out. you know. And our natural human response, if you know how most of us think, is like, okay, Paul is afflicted, he's in pain, God should answer his prayer by removing this thorn. No, God answered his prayer, but it was internally, like it was an internal thing. God's response was, my grace is sufficient for you. Like basically, like, I'm here for you, brother. I'm not removing that from you, but we're gonna walk through this thing called life together. So while you're being afflicted by this thorn, I'm gonna be with you. My grace is sufficient for you. I'm here for you. I got you. And that should be enough. You know, we always think God's gonna remove a situation or a circumstance or a person, which sometimes he does, and he can absolutely do. But sometimes he wants us to rely on him so much that he'll let us sit somewhere or in something way past the point of comfortability for us, just to rely on him that much more, you know. So that can be another answer to a prayer. Like, it's internal. It's like, just God walking with us alone should be enough. Like, he doesn't necessarily have to get us out of a situation or something. It needs to be our mindset being shifted, or it needs to be a heart posture shift, or just more faith and trust in him. The story of Gideon comes to mind. So basically, you know, Gideon had this huge battle coming up, and he was going against this army with a ton of soldiers. I think it was like 30,000. Like the army he was going against had a huge amount of people, and his army was already small, right? So he looking to God like, yo, how are we gonna beat this army? And God says, downsize. Like you still have too many men for me to do what I need to do. And so, you know, our human brain, again, thinking like, okay, God, if Gideon is fighting this physical battle, why not increase his army? Like, wouldn't it make sense to get more men and more weapons and increase Gideon's territory so that he can reign over his enemies? No, because if that happened, then it would have looked like Gideon won the war. It would have looked like Gideon and his leadership won that battle by earthly resources. But instead, God answered him and said, downsize. Like, I want you to have this many men out there while he has this many men. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't make sense physically, but, you know, once the war started, God did what he did and made the larger army turn against themselves and, you know, just basically die off by their own hands. And so Gideon ultimately ended up winning this war with this many men. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's so God can get the glory. So it's not always like, God can definitely provide us tangibles and resources and stuff to overcome our circumstances. But if he did it that way, we would start thinking it's something that we did. Like, we would start being like, yeah, like I really did that, you know. And we would forget again that it's of God's doing. And if all God did was bless us physically with everything we prayed for, we would somehow erase our need for him and just kind of think like we only operate in a physical world, which we know is a very spiritual world. We're just living in it physically for now. So if you're not really feeling encouraged to pray anymore, or you just feel like it's not necessary, or that it's just like, why am I praying? Like, it's just not getting answered, you know, or you haven't prayed in a while because these used to be your results. I'm just praying that this is encouraging, because God doesn't operate on our time. Sometimes it doesn't look like what we think the answer to our prayer should be. And sometimes it's his answer to our prayers is intangible. Like, it's like I said, a mindset change, a heart check, a posture, you know, perspectives change, anything like that. So God can answer yes, no, or not yet. And sometimes we miss his answer by being so tunnel vision focused on what we want it to look like. But I do encourage anybody who's struggling with that to just kind of pray, revisit some things that you may have been praying about for years, and just ask God to like reveal, like, did I miss my answer to this? Is there, you know, if I did, what was it like? Or just pray for it again and watch through a different lens this time. Okay. So if you've been praying for, I don't know, if you've been praying for a new job for years, but you just stuck in that same position, because this happened to me before, and it was some things that God wanted to do with my character before I left that job, because my character was improper. So I'm like, anywhere I went, the way I was acting at work, it wasn't horrible, but it was just like my mindset and my attitude towards work was bad. So it was like, even if God did bless me with the next level job opportunity, I was carrying around this sourness towards, you know, work or whatever. And so it wouldn't have worked anywhere. So he had to work on my character before I got a different job. So just kind of revisit these things with God and ask him to show you things through a different lens when you're waiting for that prayer to be answered. Other than that, y'all, that is all I have for you today. I will see you all again here soon, and we're going to dig into what prayer actually is, and ways to pray and things like that. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all right here again really soon. Peace.